Hello, I am the Miami Autism Dad, Victor Antunes, the Inclusive Miami Realtor, and this is the Autism Podcast at Miami's Community Newspapers. Today, I'm with Nicole Pierce of British Swim Schools. Nicole, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm glad that we finally made this happen.
Yes, I know.
So, Nicole, tell me a little bit about your background.
So I was a swimmer. I started teaching swimming at 14. And then in my later 20s, I wound up becoming the aquatics director for the British Swim School in Fort Lauderdale. And then I subsequently bought Miami about 18 months ago. So now I own all of Greater Miami's British Swim School. So I am now a franchise owner.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So, you work with the entire spectrum of kids, including kids who are on the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And you teach water survival,
Yes.
which is different than just swimming. Unpack that for me.
Yeah. So basically the difference between water survival and, just water information is that a child, anytime they hit the water, they're going to roll over and breathe and float first before we teach them to kick, before we teach them to glide back to the wall. We want to make sure that if there is no wall, that they're still alive, and that they're able to take it from there. So that is pretty much the difference. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And like myself, you have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
I'm an autism dad. You're an autism mom.
Yes,
A little bit about
I
that.
am. Yeah. So I have a 10-year-old daughter. Her name is Paige. She is on the spectrum. So we deal with that quite interestingly in our house. I also have another daughter who has ADHD. I have ADHD. So we're like neurospicy, I like to call it. So just the whole gamut.
And was your daughter your first student, your first neurodivergent student?
No, she was not. I had been teaching long before I had her. But she was the first one where I was able to kind of probe what we were doing. I had a lot of time on my hands. I had a lot of instructors, and I was kind of able to develop some things with her that I knew weren't working someplace else. And also I was acutely aware a lot of times with parents on the spectrum, I knew this was going to be a slow process, and how I got to the end was really controllable by me and my instructors. So she really was like the first test subject that we had.
That's great. Now,
Yeah.
I'm very curious about your daughter. So at what age did you start her with the swim lessons?
She started at 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then as we got into 18 months and I started realizing we didn't have language skills and there were other things going on, and primarily with her it was language that was very delayed, and then she became aggressive in the water. So I had the gamut with her. I think at one point she slapped the national aquatics director in my pool. So I had a lot of learning moments with her.
Now, the verbalization, how important is that for water survival?
Important. I
Yeah.
mean, I could tell you from Paige, once the language came, she calmed down and we were able to kind of understand that. And then a lot of it was just she didn't understand that what we were trying to get her to do, and I didn't have the language capacity to back that up. And I really quite didn't know what I was dealing with at the time. So you had like this perfect storm of just, whoa, what's going on? Where are we? And it was a struggle. It was a struggle.
Now, my daughter is still nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle nonverbal kids?
So we have cue cards. Honestly, the entire program can be done. We do cue 1, 2, 3. Everything is done with a gasp. We do have flip cards that we will make for a kid that is nonverbal. I've had OTs in the water. I've had ABAs in the water with my staff. I've had parents in the water. Most of the time, or a large portion of the time, we will get them into regular classes, even if they're nonverbal. We have a few of them that are currently in regular classes with other children now. So they kind of just know 1, 2, 3, or they know jump. We work it out. So all together.
And how do you work with kids who don't respond to the cue cards?
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll just know, like Humpty Dumpty, they're going to jump after we sing that song. A lot of times we'll have to go red, yellow, green. It depends on the instructor. And I think that we take that instructor to child because, there's that saying, you've met one kid on autism when you've met a kid on autism. So like they're all not going to fit this like box there,
Now, probably getting yourself up to speed, teaching an autistic child was maybe easier for you because you're an autism mom. How do you get your instructors with regular kids or no kids at all up to speed?
So I think We do work with ABA Centers of Florida, so they do come in and do some training with us online. We have our completely different program that we run at the British Swim School in addition to our regular program.
Mhm.
But the core of what we do at British Swim School was actually founded on teaching special needs back in the 80s. So it's not really that far off of it. A lot of my staff, if they're like, there's a thing or there's a problem, as long as it's not a safety issue, we can work through it, you
Right.
know?
Now I'm curious, because autism is just one of many disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
What other special needs kids are you working with?
Oh, I've had Williams syndrome. I've had
What is Williams syndrome?
It's an extra chromosome. From
What does
what
that mean?
it was like, it's almost like an elf. The way it was described to me in the research I had to do on it when we did have him was it's spectrum-y a little bit, but it's like an extra chromosome or it's a missing a chromosome. It's not Down syndrome, which is something different. So I don't want to quote, but it's something to do with the heart.
Okay.
So that was interesting to have him because there was definitely a difference between that Down syndrome, which we've encountered before, autism, which we've encountered before. I've encountered social pragmatic, which is originally what my daughter was diagnosed with, and then that's since changed. So I think you get, when you're teaching the quantity of kids that we have, you're going to see pretty much everything at some point. There's very few things that like somebody will call me and I'll be like, hold, like, let me go do some research on that. But at this point, I think I've seen mostly everything.
And what is your success rate?
Depends on the parent.
Really? And
Yeah.
how so?
If a parent's willing to understand the process and what we're doing and the length of time it takes, and that, they're going to click with certain instructors. They may not click with that instructor today. They have good days. They have bad days. This isn't a straight shot, to it. And if they understand that, this works, then it works. But if they're going to come in with very unrealistic expectations, like I need to have this kid swimming in 6 months or a year, or I don't know, and I'm very frank with the parent. I don't know yet what it is.
Now, you mentioned the instructors and the kids, meshing with the instructors. I was talking to a friend, Dr. Michael Alessandri, and he said that they did a multi-year, multi-million-dollar study on what are the best schools, what's the best system, and in the end, the X factor was the instructor.
Yes.
It didn't matter the school. The system, it didn't matter. It was the instructor.
I 100% agree with that. And certain kids will click with certain people and certain kids won't click with those people. And some of these kids will prefer females over males. Some of them will prefer males over females. And that could switch at any moment. You could have somebody who's been teaching a kid and all of a sudden they get a sub for that day and they love that sub. And that's great. I tell parents, you want them to see so many different teachers because my teaching style is different from this one's teaching style and this one, and everybody's got their own personality that they're bringing to it. The core of what we're teaching isn't different, but the song this one may sing, or the joke this one may make, or the high five, or I'm a big energy person. Like the energy may be different with that instructor. So you kind of gotta flow with it, and you'll make it what it is.
Now, if I'm bringing my child to your school, do I choose the instructor? You choose the instructor for me? How does that work?
I'll usually ask a bunch of questions that will lead me to find the personality fit. And I always tell the parent, I'm like, I may not get it right. I'm going based on, the questions that I'm asking you versus what I know about my teacher. There's some availability, right? If you're like, I can only come Wednesday at 4:00, well, that's going to limit what I have. And then it just depends on do I think the child is going to be able to go into group, or the child has to stay in private, or where that lines up as well, who we pick for the kid. But I'm very involved in who goes where.
Super important.
It is. And I think that comes with time and knowledge and knowing my staff. I don't have a high turnover of staff. That's one of the things I pride myself on. So most of my instructors have been with me 2-3 years.
Oh, that's
so
great.
I know them well. I know their personality. I know their teaching style. So I can kind of deduce who would be a good fit.
Now, you mentioned some parents coming in with unrealistic expectations. Do you ever get parents with no expectations and you surprise them with the outcomes of their kids?
And they tend to be the people that have the greatest success.
How so?
Because they're not like, I need them to swim freestyle or like, I need them to swim butterfly. I think that's even with like non-autistic parents. Like if you come in and you're just like, I need my kid to learn how to survive in the water and then to swim, then I do the best in that situation. If you come in and they're like, I learned that you can teach a child to swim in 10 lessons, and this is what I think you should be able to do. Well, then I don't know what that expectation is going to be. I don't know your kid. I don't know your ability. I don't know their water exposure, their fear. So it just depends on that, you know?
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, no, it just depends on if you have no expectation, I tend to you tend to be very happy with me at the end.
So if I'm a parent watching this
Mhm.
and I'm going to bring my kid to you,
Yeah.
what would you say to that parent, like to get them mentally prepared and the proper expectation?
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
What does that look like?
It looks like you need them to float. And then once they're floating, I can get them to move and then we can get them to kick and everything's built on each other. If I don't have right head placement, I can't teach a side breathing in freestyle. If I don't have a good side breath in freestyle, well, breaststroke's going to be a mess. So you want to understand like, yes, soccer's fun, but this is the thing that's going to save your kid's life.
Absolutely.
You know, like they're two different things. Like this isn't an activity. This is a fundamental life skill. And living in Miami or just living anywhere, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in your life where you're not going to need to swim 100 yards or get caught in a rip current or a boat's going to sink. I have no clue, but you should be prepared for all of those events, and doing that earlier in life, you know, sets it up for later.
Yeah, I'm sure you know this, but drowning, number one cause of accidental death amongst autistic kids. But in Dade County, kids below the age of 4, no matter what their ability, it's the number one cause of accidental death.
Absolutely.
Which
crazy.
is just, it's yeah, they're big numbers.
Huge numbers. And people don't realize that. And I often tell parents, they're like, oh, they don't like it, they're crying. And I'm like, if you were driving down I-95 and your kid, you looked behind you and your kid came out of their car seat, okay, you would stop and wrestle that child in that car seat. You know, we've all done it where we've just get in the car seat and, you know, trying to get them. I said, they're more likely to drown than to be in a car accident.
Although we want to cover for everything.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
but that's what I mean. So it's the same thing. You have a child who's walking and you're like, oh, well, we'll get to it next summer. Well, are you? You know?
Actually,
right?
that's a great question.
Right.
Are you?
Are
Are
you?
they?
Are they? Right. And I just feel like you start early and it's consistency over speed. You know, don't wait till they're 4 and you're like, uh-oh, you know, we missed this, so we got to do it fast in 10 lessons. Okay, you can do 10 lessons. If they're not practicing that skill, go back next summer and tell me if they're swimming. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
There's no way to know.
You don't know.
Yeah. You know, it's frightening because a few months ago, I think it was June or July, a little 9-year-old autistic boy, he drowned. And I remember I saw his photo in the paper. I was like, he was skinny, good shape.
Yeah.
Big, you know, healthy boy. It's like that boy could have been a swimmer.
Could have, yeah. And
he just wasn't a swimmer.
Right. And I think with autistic parents, because the process is, I mean, I can tell you from my own personal experience, the process is frustrating. You are going to go there and you're going to look at neurotypical kids and they are hitting those milestones and you're like, what's going on? Like they're screaming this lesson, they're happy this lesson. I think it's a frustrating process, but they don't understand, like, I will get them there if you commit. Like it's a two-way commitment. I can't, as an instructor, as a company, as an organization, commit to it if you don't commit back on the other side. And, you know, unfortunately I can't teach swimming via YouTube. No. Otherwise I would. Right?
Now you use the word regression.
Yes.
Now my daughter, she was born neurotypical. Around 2.5, she had a regression.
Right.
You know, she was hitting all her milestones before that, and all of a sudden, you know, big U-turn and go in the other direction.
Completely common.
So with the water survival skills, do you see regressions?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. It will happen. You can have a kid that I can get floating at 6 months. You bring me back at 18 months. They do this lovely thing where they take their feet out of the water, start swishing them like a pendulum. And you're like, well, they were floating. Now they're not. And I always tell parents, they're getting something. you may not see it, but they're getting the practice. They're getting that rollover. They're getting that understanding. A lot of times I feel like parents are concerned about our instructor and crying and everything else. Like, I'm like, do you know how many times a day we're yelled at? Do you know how many times a week we get yelled at? Like,
Pinched, hair pulled.
right. And it doesn't really bother us. We know the
Yeah.
only time you'll ever see me or like my instructor is if there's a safety issue. The kid's not sitting on the wall, the kid's flying in the water, the kid's hitting. Then we have to, have to talk about privates or having the ABA come or the OT come. And that's when that comes. 90% of the time we're not having that conversation because I've already preempted it, you know?
Now, are you also teaching the parents skills so they can do the maintenance once they're done with the school?
I mean, they can. I mean, I like to get them to a point. I've had autistic kids go all the way up to swim team. My daughter is on a USA swim team, so it's completely possible. That's why I say I don't know where this is going to end up. Swimming's a great sport for kids with autism because it's them alone and in their thoughts, and they like it. It's quiet. So I don't know where they're going to land. If you're just looking for them to be safe, well, that's one thing. And then a lot of my autistic kids, like once we get them past that safety point, they wind up swimming. So you're like, okay, they like it. So let them do it.
That is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things that parents with autistic kids is the cost, because everything is plus.
Absolutely.
So you start your kids first with, if they need it, private, but you try to mainstream them as quickly as possible.
As quickly. I honestly, if you come and you're like, they're in mainstream in school and they're in a regular classroom and okay, we're doing this. And I can usually tell from the conversation, like mom to mom or mom to dad or whatever, where they would fall. A lot of times I don't put them in privates, which is probably against the franchising guidelines, but I can like, okay, we'll try the group. But the one thing is, can they sit and wait their turn? And that's my biggest thing. Can you sit and wait your turn for everybody else in the class to do it? And are you not yelling and screaming and running all over my pool? Then we have a completely different problem. Then we need to go to private. So I'm pretty honest with the parents. And then we have a ton of scholarship, opportunities for them, as well.
And where does that scholarship money come from? Do you have donors?
Yeah, we are partnered with Hope Floats. So Hope Floats is a national they submit scholarships for children, but it's more income based driven. So if you meet the income requirement, you can get a scholarship. Anybody can get a Hope Float scholarship. They just, as long as they meet the income requirement, and they'll usually cover lessons in 3-month blocks. And then at the 3 months, they can, reapply. I'm really good friends with the founder of Team Kareem, who Miss Reese. So I will pull some scholarship money from her. Florida Drowning Network, we've used a lot of them. So I do try, if you say I can't afford this, it's our job to figure out how to help you do that. I never turn somebody away because that's the problem. We have resources for you.
That's great. Now, neurotypical, neurodivergent, doesn't matter. When a kid shows up and he's all anxious and just won't go in, I have I'm a licensed boat captain, and I've taken kids out on the water, and there are kids that even with a PFD on in the boat, they're dry, they're just freaked out.
Yep.
How do you work that?
It's a process. You have to, there's sometimes I tell parents, I'm like, we might not get them in. Sitting here with their feet in is an accomplishment. And the only way to get through anxiety is consistent exposure to that anxiety so that you lower the anxiety. And I tell parents this is an anxiety response, and the only way I can get through the anxiety is not to give them out of the situation, is to keep bringing them to the situation. A lot of times we'll give extra lessons. I'm notorious for being like, can you come back Tuesday, on me? And the parents are like, huh? And I'm like, I need you to come 3 days. Well, they didn't get in. That's fine. Keep coming. Bring them. Eventually we will get them in. Because it's really not an option. I know that if you turn around and leave, that I've failed.
Yes,
and that's a problem. And it's hard for me to watch when parents make that choice, because I know, like, again, it's not soccer. It's not like the kid didn't like soccer. Like, this is a life or death situation, and now I've just I've known what I've allowed you to do.
My daughter, very pliable. She's easy to work with, but for the parents who have kids who are very hard to work with, can you give me an example of a success story you had?
Oh, yeah, we have this little she went to gymnastics recently, but this girl, Leah, and she was very severely autistic. I mean, and we got her mainstreamed, we got her rolling over and floating, we got her, swimming to her capacity, and we did our job, and at that point, I thank the parents very much for trusting me, and they were there for years. I mean, from before I even bought the school, they were in the school, but we got her really far, much further than I didn't know where that was gonna land with her. But we did I'm confident that if she encounters the water, that she would have the survival skills to be necessary to save herself. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And
Mhm.
but there, even when kids like you think you've successfully trained them, I would always tell parents you can never leave kids alone.
No, 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 I wouldn't even leave myself alone. I mean, I'm an ocean rescue lifeguard from the time I was a teenager, and I know that, I've had friends drown, that were competent swimmers
Hmm.
because they've hit their head or something's happened. You just don't know. The water's unpredictable.
Hmm.
And I always used to be like, you turn your back on the ocean's going to turn their back on you. So
That's a good way to
you
put it.
just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, for the parents who've got pools at home, what are you telling them as far as like pool safety at home?
Ugh, get a fence. Get a
Fence.
fence. Get
Yeah.
a fence. Get a fence. Get an alarm. Get survival lessons. All of those things are going to help. It's not a one stop thing that's going to stop a kid from drowning. It is 6 and 7 layers of protection in there. And if you have a pool party, hire a lifeguard. Like, please, God, I don't know why they just don't. And you can call a swim school, you can call into the local high school, you can call to the city. There's lifeguard rentals. Ask your friends. I'm sure they have a teenager that's a lifeguard, and pay the money for it. It will be it's worth it. It's
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. You see the videos on YouTube of kids drowning here, like, and there's like a barbecue going on
100
behind
people
them.
standing there and nobody sees it.
When I was 5, I was at a pool. I was in the kiddie pool. I still was a non-swimmer,
Mhm.
and I'm playing in the kiddie pool. My brother and my cousin, they come into the kiddie pool. We're playing.
Yeah.
They're older, and they run off into the big pool, and I run off behind them, and I jump, and in the air, I realize I can't swim,
Mhm.
and I jumped away from the edge of the pool, so I couldn't go back to the edge,
Right.
and I'm drowning, and I'm looking at my family, and
No one's looking.
then my brother turned around and he saved me.
Right.
But I was looking at the entire group of adults
Yeah.
just chit chatting,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. This is a common thing.
yeah.
And it's that everybody thinks somebody's watching the water and nobody really is. That's why I'm always like, pay somebody that's not your family, that you don't know, that comes in and that you put a chair by the pool, and I promise you it will be worth its weight because you think that kid's on the step. Oh, they know they can't go past there. Okay, one misstep. And that's all it takes. And it's quick, it's silent. Everybody doesn't realize how silent drowning is.
Oh,
It is a
yes.
very silent event.
Yes.
Everybody thinks there's some flailing going on, somebody's gonna yell help, and no,
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 because you can't breathe. You
no,
can't yell. You can
no.
flail, but that's not much noise anyways.
No, you have 6 or 7 kids in the pool. You're gonna
Yeah, they're all
notice
flailing.
this? Yeah, they're all doing that.
Yeah.
So, and it takes that's what lifeguard training is for, to understand what those signs look like. And even lifeguards miss some of these signs because, you got 20 kids in the pool who's playing dead over here, who's doing this, who's doing that. There's tons of statistics about them finding people. Even I think one point it was like days that this person they had opened and closed the pool and the person was on the bottom of the pool. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't even just imagine
No,
that.
it's nuts.
That's incredible. Now, I've met a lot of parents like yourself
Mhm.
who I say they're filling the gaps. And what do I mean by that? Like a few weeks ago, I had on Jim O'Connor from the Zero Drownings Initiative of Dade
Mhm.
County, but he's just one guy with a limited budget.
Mhm.
It's probably a very big budget, but you can't teach all of Dade County,
No.
and it takes parents like you to come fill the gaps.
Mhm.
So what would you say to other parents who are thinking of filling a gap? Like, how would you do it entrepreneurially?
I mean, for me, I got lucky because I was in swimming and I saw this niche of this franchise and I personally resonated with the franchise. So
Mhm.
that was easier for me. There's a ton of I know there's a ton of parents that wind up going into like ABA or occupational or wind up doing that. So I think that when you have a kid who is on the spectrum and does need help, you wind up finding like all these like things that you didn't think. And if you are entrepreneurially inclined, you're going to find a way to kind of finagle that or work around or hire people or like find talent to match whatever it is that you need.
Prior to being a realtor, I was a merchant marine, and there's a big safety culture there.
Yes.
But there are people who just will not buy into the safety culture, no matter what you do. What do you do with those people?
I just like to send statistics at them and just hope for the best, because there's certain people you can't tell anything to. I mean, I think that the fact that Miami continues to lead the country in drownings is staggering, and the amount of water safety that you have. I mean, we have billboards, it's on the news. It's something that I think every parent's heard of. I know when you go to pediatricians, it's something they bring up now that never happened years ago. At least the pediatricians I've been to, swimming lessons was on there with the, do you lock up your guns, or, like on the little iPad at one point. And I think that's great. But do parents understand what that means? Do they think, oh, they're just making us go to swimming lessons? Oh, we're going to go do like Whales on the Bus and some kiddie stuff, which we do because we want to make it fun. But, do you understand what that really means? That I need your child to float and breathe and not kick back to a wall. And do you understand the safety component of what's actually happening?
When pediatricians are doing this tells me there's been a systemic change for the better.
It is.
Awesome. That's incredible. Now, what do you think on the public policy side could be like things that we could instill that would make like the biggest levers for change?
I think a lot of it has to do with, it should be something that's done in the schools. I do know that we have that. I also would like to see some sort of legislation like where, prior to going to kindergarten, I know they've tried to pass this, and it might have been passed, where you should, before kindergarten registration, make sure they've gone to swim lessons. And it could be a private swim school, it could be something else, but somebody who's certified, and I use that term very specifically, not your friend's neighbor who comes into your backyard and teaches swimming. Like somebody who's certified and has insurance and actually has a protocol, to teach swimming. I mean, not all swim lessons are created equal.
No, that's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, Dade County is a big county, almost 3 million people, a huge spectrum of wealth. Now, that little boy who drowned, he was in Opelika, which is financially just a little bit of, more stressed place. So how would that mom have gotten lessons?
The city. I mean, the city will produce something. It's not going to be, I mean, it's quality to what it is. You also have Medicaid that's giving out stipends. The problem is they're not giving enough money, which is what I tell people. I would love to take all these things, but they're giving $200.
Yeah.
And that's just to
in
give you
Dade
an
County.
idea. In Dade County, $200 isn't going to get you 2 months of lessons with me. I mean, and I'm pretty reasonably priced. But it's just not, it's not what it is. And you're thinking, okay, well, 8 weeks, even I think Stop Drowning Now is only, I think, an 8-week program. There's time limits on what they're giving people to learn how to swim. That's awesome. Like, I want you to do that. But what they're doing is giving you a really quick flash on just how to not go in the pool. Do you know what I mean? Or just kick back to the wall, or give them a shot to reach, throw, don't grow, or, give them the basic foundation of water safety. This isn't swimming.
Right.
So
yeah, different.
it's completely different. And this isn't survival swimming. This is just like, they know not to go jump in after their friend, or they can turn around and grab the wall and climb out. Okay, that's awesome. You are saving lives on that degree, but this isn't like, we've fallen off a boat, or we've gotten caught in a riptide, or we wound up in a lake behind our house. These are completely different things. So I think a lot of the changes to come from the state giving more money, filling these scholarships that we, like us private schools, do have control over, because we're doing a bulk of the swimming lessons in the county at this point. I believe.
Oh, really?
I think
Oh,
so.
good for
Yeah,
you.
I think we really are. I mean, the city might be doing more, but it's more like, what does that look like long term? I'm indoor, I'm heated. I know Orca Aquatics is indoor and heated. These kids aren't having a break for weather. or they're not doing 6-week sessions and then another 6-week sessions and another 6-week sessions, or this isn't somebody coming to your backyard that's getting rained out or it's had car trouble. You come to me, there's a lesson happening, regardless of, that's my job, is to make sure that lesson goes off for you. So
Great.
there's no stop in lessons.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Now, when the 8 sessions are over, is there a ceremony, like certain skills, like milestones they have to do? It's like, say you've passed the class?
Yeah, so we're not session based. So what we are is we're skill based. So we have 9 levels,
okay.
which means I don't miss anything, right? We have 9 levels. Once each level has 5 goals to those levels. All of our instructors know them. They can rattle them off. I'm not going to bore you with that. Once the child hits the 5 goals of that level, we automatically graduate. So you could go to 2 classes, hit those 5 goals, you're going to the next level. Right. So I'm consistently pushing you through the program. And our instructors are, we're consistently probing if that child can do that. And once that child can demonstrate that skill, competently, obviously not like once, but like, over the course of a lesson or the next lesson, we will automatically do the graduation. And that's done. We do graduations every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. The skill-based.
Skill-based. It has to be. So I know that I didn't miss a head placement here. Your float wasn't great, or your jump wasn't great, or you didn't roll over. I know you had to have done that to get to the next level.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Nicole, I got the 2-minute warning 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you 5 last questions before you close it out, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. First question is, one myth about swimming or water safety you wish would disappear forever?
Oh, that you can teach it in 5 lessons or you could teach it quickly. I don't know. Maybe sometimes.
Okay. Question number 2, a message you'd print on every pool wall in America.
Teach swimming lessons.
And it's never too soon, right?
Never too soon. 3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Third question, the most rewarding moment you've had as a founder?
Watching my teachers out-teach me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. Fourth question, the one thing every parent should do today to make their child safer around water?
Enroll in swimming lessons. It's never too late. Enroll yourself in swimming lessons. Adults, it's never too late also.
Yeah, it's amazing. My wife, she's 40-something now, and she's a non-swimmer. Some people they make it all their life, and then they're non-swimmers.
I've taught 90-year-old men how to swim. I've taught 6-year-old women who've come as a group. Adults need swim lessons as well. It's never, you never are too late. It's never beyond a skill you can learn.
Yeah, I grew up in Miami, so there's water everywhere. And I remember at 5 years old learning how to swim. And it's just always been a part of my life.
Yeah.
And it enriches your life so much to be a swimmer.
Yes.
To go to the beach and swim out to the buoy. It's like swimming is such an enriching experience.
And it's so much fun. Like, you don't want to go snorkeling. You don't want to go on this boat. You don't want to go down this water slide. I'm like, a lot of my life is water, obviously, because of what I do. But, you're missing out on a whole portion of life that you could be doing.
Especially in South Florida.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Last question. If you could put one message on a billboard over I-95, what would it say?
I think it would be like drowning rates.
Yeah. That'd be a good one.
I think it would be just the statistics on drowning rates, like for under 4, for, teen boys drown at staggering rates as well.
Really?
Yeah. They will go out in that's more like open water and stuff.
Risk takers.
Risk taking. Yeah. A lot of parents don't realize, that the drowning rate doesn't stop at 4, or with autistic kids. The drowning rate is consistent. Even adults, it's staggering. I think we lose like 13 bus loads of children a year to drowning. It's crazy.
It just makes me so sad and stressed to hear that.
Right.
That's amazing. That would be a great billboard, by the way.
That would be. Yeah.
That would be like, you'd probably cause auto accidents with that one.
Right. Because 13 buses of kids just dropped off the face of the country.
Needlessly.
It would be like a CNN story every day, but because it's one here and one there, you don't look at the whole mass of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, this has been an eye-opening conversation.
Oh,
I've really enjoyed it. Even though I'm a lifelong swimmer, I'm not an instructor, so I've learned a lot from you of like the milestones.
I appreciate
Instead
that.
of a number of sessions as a milestone. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, let's turn to the camera and we'll sign off.
All right.
This has been the Autism Podcast with Nicole Pierce from British Swim Schools. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.